So in this video, I'm going to be getting my money back from MarginFi. So if you have also unstaked from MarginFi in this UI and you weren't able to get your money back, you could also learn how to do that in this video. So to just recap, right, I had an issue with MarginFi. I had unstaked, but I did not ever see my 2.10 SOL in my wallet, right? Right now it's a 0.115, right? And I had messaged them about that, and I never got a response. But they did update the UI and add this blue part, which was not there before, which is why I kind of felt like they read it, but just didn't respond to me, basically. So wait until the end of Epoch, and then nothing changes, basically. Yeah, and I had also told them, right, because in their docs, when they talk about how to unstake the LST, they have this unstake.it, and this site is a scam website that you shouldn't use because you could end up, losing your money. Yeah, I think this is being flagged by the Phantom extension, but there's also like a Binance article as well, right, talking about that same thing. Anyway, but the issue is I think that website was bought by, this domain was bought by somebody else, and then it became a scam website. They updated their UI here, but did not update their documents, right? Which doesn't make any sense. So anyway, yeah, the transaction in question, right? This is when I actually unstaked, and this is the 2.10 SOL, right? And I understand the way these accounts work a little more, right? This is like the CEO, public, and key, right? And this, where is it? The actual set from, okay, so on the stake account, this is the actual stake account, right? If we open this in a new tab, this is a stake account, and this hole's just sitting there. It's just sitting there in cyberspace forever because they don't have a button on their UI to withdraw it after it's done unstaking, basically. And every other platform that I've used, right, with staking and unstaking, the platform that you stake with allows you to unstake, but yeah, they don't have that, and they still got the scam website, right, in their docs. Already lost that. There it is. Still got the scam website, but I mean, yeah. But anyway, so just all we have to do is just, but looking at it though, I am the authority, the staking authority and the withdraw authority, so no one else can withdraw this money but me. So maybe it's not malicious, maybe it's just incompetent, right? It says that it should just be available in your wallet after Epoch, but it's not, right? So, I mean, yeah, anyway, so we just have to call the right transaction to get our money back, basically. And I had already done the research for that, and I had already made a button for it, basically, for this video, which is, I think, worth going over, right? I'll share the code after in case anyone ends up in a similar situation. Yeah, made this function call, give my damn money back. It's right there on the ion buttons. If you're going through the tutorials, you should know how the ion button and stuff works. But anyway, we have our toast and inject and all this other stuff. What's new here, right? We have the stake program that we're calling from the Solana web3.js library, Lamport, transaction, public key, toast, that's not new, but so we make the transaction, it's stake program.withdraw, and we have our public key address, that's the CEO address, and the stake account, which is just the public address for that account, right? And that's all it is. And there's also a parameter, like I guess this is the authority, but you can also set who you want to actually give the money to. So maybe on unstake.it, they just have this set to somebody else, and you come and unstake it, and they just send it to somebody else. So maybe that's where the problem with that website is. Don't know. I mean, but yeah, people are saying that it's a scam, so maybe that's what they're doing. So I mean, yeah, anyway. And for the amount, right, it's the Lamport's constant, which is 1 billion. 1 SOL is 1 billion Lamports or whatever, but you take that 1 billion times however many SOL, and in order to do the max amount, you basically have to take the deposit amount plus the amount that was earned. So I'm not even sure if this is quite correct or whatever. This says this is the total amount that was earned, which is 11 cents. So you think it would be that plus that. In the previous transaction, it kind of shows this. But I mean, we'll come back to that later. But you basically have to calculate the max amount yourself. But I guess you would still be able to see if something was still in it. I would think that this would be the balance, but it's whatever. Anyway, so right. So yeah, in order to do the transaction, you have to fetch the latest block hash. That has to be a part of the transaction. Like we start the transaction here, we do transaction.recent block hash equals this latest block hash. We have to go and fetch it, and we set the fee pair. It worked with this, but yeah. So and do .wallet.sign transaction. It has to be signed, and with the signed transaction. Wallet sign transaction. Why am I calling this twice? I think I'm calling this twice by accident. Don't need to call this twice. Okay. Sign transaction. Okay, then send the sign transactions in that, and you send it, basically. And everything else is the same from everything else that we've done before. I basically just made a button. They could have a button on their website for you to unstake, but yeah. So you could imagine that the average user is not going to be able to do this, right? To be able to make a button and then, call it and sign it and stuff and blah, 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 right? So that's a problem. Most staking websites, when you stake on them, you have the ability to unstake from them, and their documents don't link to a scam website. And they say you can trade it, right? But this is true with any liquid staking token. When you trade it, it's so that you can get it immediately back, what you staked. And you always get less back because you're doing it to get it immediately back. So unstaking it is how you get the most back. You just have to wait to get it. But after you're done waiting, you should be able to withdraw it with a button, which MarginFi doesn't have, which is dumb, maybe not malicious. I want to, I guess because, there is a scam site, which they haven't removed, but I was the only one that was able to withdraw my soul. But this is still pretty incompetent, saying, oh, it'll be available in your wallet. So something to address with that, to be fair with them, right? You go here, and it's not here in the Phantom wallet, but if you click on this and you go down, you can actually see some your staking accounts, right? And then you could come here, it's inactive, and then I could actually withdraw it. And this seems to be slightly more than any of the numbers that I was looking at added together. So I think I'm going to just do it here to see if I get more back. But anyway, this is just the Phantom wallet. There are maybe thousands of wallets now. Every wallet is not necessarily going to have this. So that's why most of the time you can do it on the website that you did it on, and I literally added a button. It's not very much code, as you can see. You probably need more code to know when it's available to withdraw and stuff, but you should have something like that. Everybody else does. I don't know why you wouldn't have something like that. You'd say, oh, it's available in your wallet. It's like, oh, and you go to instructions. Fucking instructions is a scam. It's not telling me how to get it out of my fucking wallet. It wasn't, not going to do that. It wasn't immediately visible. So, yeah, that's a problem. So, anyway, if you do unstake and you have issues getting your soul back from MarginFi, this is basically how you would do it. So, we've got 0.015 soul. Let's see if we can go ahead and get our soul back. Let me unlock my wallet. Withdraw. Is it gone? Maybe need some time. Doesn't look like I got my money back. Okay, there it is. Now I got my soul back. But yes, definitely incompetence here. Maybe possibly not malicious, but yeah, I can't build my platform on theirs, which, yeah, I've decided at this point I'm basically going to have to build it from scratch, and that's going to cause some other issues, but I guess we could quickly go over what I had considered for that, right? Because, MarginFi has, it's a lending and borrowing platform. There are a couple of others, but you know, theirs was the best in terms of like integrating your own website into it, because you could basically set your own fees, and I could have just been a part of this global USDC asset, and people could just deposit, right? You can't have interest earned on a deposit unless other people are borrowing it, and I wasn't even going to let people give people the ability to borrow on the M4A Protocol website, because when you borrow, that's when shit gets fucked up, right? But as long as my website was smaller than theirs, it would have been perfectly fine, right? Because there are people borrowing here and probably on other websites that are also integrated into, you know, their lending and borrowing platform. So that is why it would have been ideal to really just sort of latch onto another bank. These are kind of banks, unregulated banks, you know. You know, Trump doesn't want to regulate them, but we'll see if I have any success if crypto will become regulated after. But we'll see. But anyway, I'm just gonna have to build that myself. But they had the best compatibility with that, because you could basically set your own fees, and I would have just set fees on interest earned, and then it could have just been exactly the way that I wanted it, right? But there's another platform called Solana, and you can build on top of theirs, but basically the only thing that you can do is collect 20% borrow fee. So people have to be borrowing on your platform, which is what I didn't want, and just a 20% fee. And if I'm going to be, I mean, yeah, and obviously this wouldn't even work with the way that I would want it to, right? You know, because yeah, no, you're supposed to be like earning 100% interest on one account as well, and then everybody is supposed to have like a 3% fee on their interest that they're earned that's going to that account. And yeah, I can't do any of that because there's no flexibility at all with this. But you know, they say that, you know, they are also fully open source. MarginFi is open source as well. Just, you know, anyway, but apparently there's like some generic lending and borrowing Solana contract, I guess is what Solana used, and this is their implementation of it. And maybe MarginFi also did the same thing. So I guess I'll basically try to do that and build something that's sort of like MarginFi, where you can, other websites will be able to use it. There will be no inherent fees that anyone is paying M4A Protocol if they want to be a part of, you know, the liquidity pools for lending and borrowing. They can set their own fees and use them for their own reasons. They just would have to spell it out for their users the way that this is being used to pay people's medical bills. So I guess that's pretty much the plan, right? And I have like 37 days left to figure that out, you know, with the setbacks and stuff. Would have been pretty easy just to integrate with another website, but no, going to have to learn the very basic version of it, and I'm going to have lending and borrowing. There's not going to be any way around that, because you can't have interest earned if no one's borrowing. There's no way around that. So yeah, that's going to be fun. I guess if there's a very simple version of it, just going to have to learn that and then build upon it to make it so that it can do everything that I need it. So I want to also say that I did put that example that I talked about in here, just updated. I just commented out the button basically, but if you go here, you know, and source and views and M4A 110, and it's on the overview page, I have the ion button commented out, but all the logic that you would need to withdraw a stake is still there if you're interested in that logic. So that is pretty much it. So I will see you in the next video.